Hello everybody, I am Mr. Saturday and I hope you are having a beautiful, wonderful day. My day is going fantastic. And today is a bit of a weird one because I never actually planned on recording something like this, but stuff does happen and I'm just gonna rip it off like a band-aid. We have good news and we have bad news. And I'm gonna start off with the bad news first. So this world went through an unwanted update. And unfortunately, I do not have a copy of the 1.12 world before this update, right? And I cannot go back as much as I've tried without messing stuff up. I have been sitting on this for a couple of months now. It's been quite some time. It's been rattling around in my head. I have spent time on the world since building random stuff. I won't be going over the stuff I built. That's going to be for a later thing. But I have been sitting on it, just kind of building and testing the waters, seeing how I feel about it. And this update started with I was loading the world and I just, without thinking about it, loaded it into a newer update. And when I went back, I was like, you know what? I have copies of the world. I can always go back in an update and everything will be fine. I went to go look for the 1.12 copy, did not have it. The copy that I updated was the single 1.12 update copy that I had. And what's crazy is I have multiple copies of the beta 1.7.3. That copy is still fine. There is just an incredibly massive amount of stuff that's missing off of it. I built a lot of stuff in 1.12. You can kind of see some of it over there with that colorful town. There is quite a few buildings alone just in 1.12, and I would kind of be missing out on that if I went back to that beta update and then re-updated it to 1.12. There'd be like a lot of buildings missing. Now I probably could have just rebuilt them, right? I mean, it would take a lot of work, possibly weeks, months for some of the stuff that I've done. I could take multiple screenshots and kind of just replicate everything that I did, which would kind of suck at the same time. But I've been playing on it for a while, and instead of just leaving it or scrapping it, because that did cross my mind a couple of times where I thought about just, I don't know, starting like a whole new beta let's play from the beginning, or, you know, just starting a 1.12 let's play from the beginning. You know, I had a lot of ideas just running through my head on what I wanted to do, and I decided against all of that. Like, none of that was a good idea. I decided that, yeah, you know what? I didn't plan for this to happen. This is some weird stuff that I'm in, and I'm just gonna roll with it. Sometimes you don't plan everything. Sometimes there are things that happen that you don't plan for. There are mistakes that are made, and I'm just gonna roll with it. It's all right. It's not in the newest update. It is in 1.20 1.1, I do believe. That we could check that. I think we could check that with the F3. So yeah, it's 1.20 1.1, which is not the newest one that I'm aware of, but it's pretty close. It's definitely a lot newer than what I'm used to. Mainly this version I have around to play on Mog Swamp Superflat because that is the version that it is on. And that's kind of where I loaded the world up, and it's been loaded up like this for a while. Like, when I say I've been sitting on this for a minute, we could go check the wall. I even called it a dumb update and put a rest in peace sign at the church over here for the 1.12 update. It's kind of funny. I have like a little graveyard over there, and I put the 1.12 update in that graveyard somewhere on a sign. It's on one of those. Signs don't want to load this far for some reason. But if we go over here, I marked the exact date, and it happened around 412. ish. So I do have a question mark. It's around 412, around about the time I got my new computer and was testing things out. Hence why I don't have multiple copies like I thought I did, which is pretty crazy to think about, because you know the beta 1.7.3, I have multiple copies. There's even copies on my Discord of like the very last moments of playing in beta. But like I said, it is what it is. You don't plan for weird stuff to happen. You don't plan for a lot of things to happen, and this is a weird hiccup, but I'm gonna roll with it. I think I'm gonna continue building on here. We'll continue doing cool episodes and pushing my personal building to the limit, which is always fun. That was kind of the point of, you know, playing in beta and starting in beta in the first place, and then moving on to 1.12. We're still going to do that in this world. I still really love this world. I have a lot of great builds on here, especially some on the end of this bridge, you know, that I don't want to leave behind or just restart, because that'd be kind of weird, right? To start a forever world but give up on it during its first hiccup, right? I mean, I think that's kind of lame. I've noticed a couple of people who made very popular forever world videos where they done that, and I thought it was lame when they did that, like they went back on their stance. But no, we're gonna stick with this world. All of its you know, weird stuff and everything going on, I still really love it. There's still really cool builds to do and old styles to play with that need to fill up this mountain and get all of those cool things in. I mean, just look at this to-do list, this to-do wall right here in my to-do book. There is plenty of stuff I still need to do in this world. You can't just leave it hanging, you know? That'd be insane. With that being said, this episode is pretty short. It's not going to be a very long one. I just felt like I needed to tell everybody that's went on with this world, and we will start picking episodes back up on this world where we're doing just like random cool stuff and just having a blast. I do, instead of one comment question today, we're going to do two in this book, because it has been a while and this episode has been kind of short. So the first one comes from Alt F4. What build do you hate or least like in your world? So that is the first question, and I can actually show you the build that I like the least, and I have been thinking about removing it for like a hot minute now, and that's actually this build right here. This build was made in beta 1.7.3 with a skeleton mob spawner that I had located, and that's where I got my bones. They originally died on a cactus, I think, and then I just caught the bones as they came to me. This was later replaced with where I killed them with a sword to gain XP in 1.12, but I never actually liked this tower. I don't think I even posted pictures of it on the Golden Age subreddit when it was first built. I'm not a fan of its shape, and I'm not a fan of its roofs. Don't get me wrong, the Wizard Tower roof is still cool. I like that cone shape. It's actually the color scheme of the said roof. It kind of reminds me of those popsicles that you would see that, you know, sometimes you would eat them as a kid, where they had like the multi-rainbowed color going up. That's what it kind of reminds me of, and I'm just not a fan of it. This was supposed to be one of those builds that I built up and then kind of textured the building afterwards. I think I did that with the church on Back to Beta. I was explaining how to do that with some of the builds. This was going to be one of those, but after I built it and took a step back, I just really didn't like it, and I never tore it down. I do have plans on rebuilding this. I do want to change it up. I think making a really cool wizard tower is an awesome idea and a fun project. I do have my enchantment table from 1.12 in here, so that is still in here ready to go. There is the entrance to the skeleton farm, and you can see I never finished it either. Like, I didn't decorate all the way down like I would normally do. Yeah, I just really did not like this build. And every time I have to come here for XP, it kind of, I'm just like, man, I really got to do something about this. And we're going to. That's going to definitely be a future episode where we just tackle this building and reconstruct it into something awesome. The second question for today comes from Eric Washington Jr. It says, hey, how come you wanted to start in older versions Minecraft? I did not type this, by the way, and not more recent ones. So he was pretty much asking, why did I start in the older versions of Minecraft and not the newer ones, like beta 1.7.3? And I think I kind of answered that towards the beginning of this episode. And really, it was for the challenge. But like the world itself actually comes from me wanting my own single player world. So I have been on a ton of multiplayer worlds throughout the years that I've been playing Minecraft. Was that a wandering trader? That is the first time one has spawned ever. Especially in this like nothing wants to spawn here, like sheep and cows, right? I have to travel out to find sheep and cows and stuff. That is the first time a newer like mob has spawned at spawn. What do you have for trades, my dude? I know I'm a little distracted here, but this is actually your trades are trash. But yeah, it's that's actually a big deal. That is the first time I've had random mobs spawn that was not hostile. So I've played on a bunch of SMPs and just multiplayer style worlds over the years, and you know, I've been on Minecraft for about 14 years, and I haven't had a just me single player world in a hot minute that's lasted. Mainly because I end up joining SMPs and stuff like that, and then the multiplayer styles, they're cool and all, but most of them that I have been on just completely shut down for random reasons, and then I lose all the cool builds that I've done. Like I would do like really cool mega bases, and you know, just have like really cool machines and contraptions built into the world just for them to disappear over the years. So I really wanted a world to call my own, where the only way that something like that would disappear is if I made it disappear. It was kind of like what led me to ultimately keep the world even after accidentally updating it, right? But as for starting it off in beta, I really got the appeal to go back to the beta versions of Minecraft. And for a Twitch stream, back when I used to stream on Twitch, I joined a server that was dedicated to beta 1.7.3 back in 2019. And there was just a handful of us on this server. Nobody was really making content other than myself and one other guy that was also streaming on Twitch. And I didn't think many people had like cared or wanted to play on this. Well, I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to go back to those versions and start my world in it. And I started this world right here. I actually started the mine shaft and this tower. And I was recording episodes of it because I wanted to share it with everybody. And I ended up finding an awesome group, or an awesome couple of people. I think the first person I found was the last block with his YouTube video, and then the second person I ended up finding that I watched a pretty good bit was Pepper. So I started watching those two guys, and I started building more on here, especially with the museum and the storage room and stuff like that. Followed them all the way through back to beta, and I found everybody else on back to beta through those two guys because they all decided to hop onto one big server, which eventually led me to back to beta, which is kind of funny. But yeah, mainly I thought it would be cool to go back to the older versions and really challenge myself. This wasn't much of a challenge. It was more of a starter house. And then I wanted a museum to store everything with a storage room. And then I really started pushing my beta building limits when it came to this castle, which is Dave's Keep, and that church, this library right here, and I think one of the last things I did while I was in beta was my dad's temple. And my dad's temple is really just pushing something to scale, right? So even though this looks bigger because we're closer, that is technically wider and takes up an entire desert. Well, a beta 1.7.3 desert doesn't take up like a modern desert, but it is big enough to take up an entire beta desert on its own, which is a massive build to do in beta. Like all of that wool, especially the black, is insane to get. No gold farms in that version. All that gold was mined by hand, and there is a ton of it in there. But I really wanted to push myself to the limits that I could go in, like, you know, building the moon. This was an image of a moon that I found, like what we have, a real life moon. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but I took the Earth's moon and I wanted to replicate that in my world, but smaller, and made it falling out of the sky. So all of this was built in beta 1.7.3 as well. And that was a fun challenge, and the same was for 1.12. Like, I wanted to push myself in 1.12 as well. I just never got to stay in that version long enough. We did build the Iron Phoenix. There was a little wool village here that I tore down and I was going to redo with this colorful style, which I got to go back and tweak. There's a lot of the builds in that main clump that have the same walls, and I didn't notice that until a little bit after. So we still have some more houses to build. I still have a chest right there, kind of got building supplies in it ready to go. But I want to do a bunch of these colorful buildings kind of surrounding the moon, like wrapping around it, and then some of them just being completely annihilated by the moon would be pretty funny. But yeah, kind of off topic. I started in older versions because I thought it would be cool to go back to those older versions, like I did with a couple of buddies on the server in 1.19, or not 1.19, but in 2019. God, it makes me, I just realized that's like 6 years ago, which is, when I hear 2019 and stuff like that, I always think it's like, oh yeah, that was like a year or two ago, but we're halfway done with 2025. Like, that's what's crazy to think about. It's almost this world's second birthday. But yeah, I wanted to go back for the challenge and just push myself, and I felt like I pushed myself pretty well. And I still continue to push myself on the back to beta, just coming up with random mini game ideas and builds, which has been pretty fun. Still doing a lot of stuff on there. I know I'm not posting as much, and to be honest with you, it is harder for me to make videos in the summertime than it is through the rest of the year because of my kids. So I kind of have to record at night when it comes to let's play talk styles like this. But you know what? I'm going to wrap it up there. We had a little oopsie in the world that kind of messed a lot of things up, but at the same time, you know what? I'm not one to give up on something. That was not the point of this world, right? My main point was to keep something forever, to call mine, and build cool builds in it. And me backing out of it and having that mindset for the brief moment that I had that mindset, that was lame. That was lame as hell of me. And I'm glad that I stuck with it, even though it's in an update that I'm not familiar with. Believe it or not, I'm not familiar with any of the new updates or what's in them. So this could be a cool experience at the same time, like trying to figure out what I've been missing out on. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I will see all of you in the next one. Bye.